Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on picking rhubarb. Then down. Son of a... So I like to approach this like any artist would approach a project. I think of my work here as Bob Ross in reverse. So instead of putting happy trees everywhere, we've got angry plants. And it's not just in picking rhubarb, but in weeding, I like to think of them as angry little plants, and we need to pick them. So I'm going to cut right below the intersection of this leaf and the stalk. If I cut it too high up and I'm into the leaf, the further I go, the more likely it is to split on me in storage. So even though you'd think, hey, I want to get that little bit of extra plant on there, it actually can work against you in the long run. The reason why I've chose this plant is that this plant was put here in this bed in May of this year. And the conventional wisdom says, do not pick your rhubarb the first year. And I believe that that's been misinterpreted, because a seedling is much different than a crown root division, where you can select large chunks of crown to do exactly what this did. And I believe that this plant needs to be picked right now in order to come back with a healthy new growth for the fall. So we're going to pick this plant, and then we're going to leave the rest of them. And before all the plant welfare people get up in arms that I'm intentionally harming my plant, I've picked rhubarb like this a number of times, so I don't believe that I'm intentionally harming my plant, even though you may think that by cutting off 90% of the foliage here, basically all of the foliage off this plant, that the rhubarb is somehow going to be harmed or delayed long-term deficits. But I believe that this plant is going to enjoy this picking, and we'll be doing an update here before fall to show you the difference in growth or regrowth of this one versus the plants that I do nothing with. Simple as can be. Cut off all the relevant tops. The growth here that I didn't touch is actual new growth from, I would say that this stuff has come in the last day or two. So it may just come right out with the pulling of the other stalks, or it may stay there. If it stays there, I'd leave just the handful of that stuff that's just come in. So on rhubarb, it has a flat side. You can see that the flat side goes in towards the center of the crown. There's a new shoot coming up. If I pull away from the shoot coming in, I'm pulling it so that it tears away, kind of like when you're tearing paper, it tears away from the top down. If I pull the other way, the suction of this is going to pull this next little growth coming in right out with it. Because it's a socket, that this fits down in there and it's moist, that there is some suction involved. So to break that suction, you need to put some pressure on it and then allow it to come out. By just taking it and trying to yank on it, you can damage the growing end by taking off the next one coming in, which if you do, it's not a big deal. Rhubarb, the crowns will resprout very easily. And it comes out with it sometimes just all on its own. There is viable root material on the end of this. This could potentially grow a new plant, but it's not likely to do it very well, especially in the heat of the summer. As I'm picking to make it easier for myself, I usually pick a handful at a time before I put it in my bin, wherever my bin went. And by no means am I selling it by weighing it like this, but a handful is about a pound. Put it in my bin. Now I know I picked 1 pound. Too aggressive. Killed it. Oh, but that is so nice and fresh and juicy. You can see the juice come right out of it. When it's that young, it's almost not sour enough. Big woody stalk. The end looks pretty green to me. No discoloration. That looks perfectly edible still. Damaged rhubarb. Looks like there's discoloration down in there. Break in half, you can see how far that it's changed. You can see general browning of the flesh. This is not particularly good, but definitely still edible. Now this one's still edible. If you can easily squeeze juice out of it, give it the taste test. It shouldn't dry your mouth out. If you're biting into it and it dries your mouth out and it's overly bitter, then it's probably past prime. If you're not eating rhubarb, you don't know what you're missing. Nothing left. But you can see there will be leaves coming out immediately. Today, tomorrow, all the days after. But we'll get to see the difference. Ready? Oh my goodness, I'm impressed.